So let's all just take a breath together here this morning. Yeah, we've been talking this month about love. Love is the way, is what we've been talking about all month. And love is the way all the time, not just in February and not just the months that we talk about it. So I just like to remind us all that we are to be love. That's what we're here for, to be love. And today we're talking about the open gate, the open gate, the open gate. You know, this topic came through because at my birthday time, I received a card from a friend that had the picture of a fuzzy little dog tearing through a lawn, smiling and just racing through the grass. And the inside of the card said, "Live life as though someone left the gate open. Live life as though someone left the gate open." And I left that card out. I keep it around so that I can see it because it makes me smile. Live life as though someone left the gate open. So can you imagine what that little dog looked like, or what any dog looks like when the gate is left open and they get a chance to get out? Because the gate being open represents freedom. It represents limitlessness. It represents no restrictions. And so whenever I thought about that card, live life as though someone left the gate open. How exciting is that? That is such a metaphor for our lives, for ourselves. You know, gates are those things that can either limit or represent freedom. They can keep someone or something in, or they can let someone or something out. They are access points. And so when the gate is open, then there's freedom. There's freedom to fly free. There's freedom to be limitless. There's freedom to just move forward. And so that's where we want to be in our own lives, just to live life as though someone left the gate open. Live life as though someone left the gate open. And you know, the gate, as I said, is just a metaphor for freedom. And for us, what is it? What is the gate for each one of us? What is the gate for each one of us? The gate for us to freedom is our minds. The gate for us is our minds. And we are the gatekeepers. We are the gatekeepers. We have to keep our minds open and making sure of what our minds are open to, what our minds are open for. What is it that we are allowing our minds to be open to? That's the big question for each of us, because there's so much going on. There's so much that's always available. When the gate is open, then all manner of things can come in. And as gatekeepers, we have to be mindful of what we are allowing in, what we are not even vibrating at the same level with. We have to just be aware of all those things. You know, Ernest Holmes says that we are all spiritual and mental broadcasting stations. We're all spiritual and mental broadcasting stations, and we're broadcasting messages all the time. Even when we're sleeping, we're broadcasting messages, and those messages that we broadcast affect our environment as well as people around us. They affect our entire lives because we're broadcasting with our thoughts, and our thoughts may create our consciousness. So our consciousness is always broadcasting. Our consciousness is always broadcasting. So what we have to remember that is that what we are broadcasting, we are also getting back, because everything goes in circles. And Ernest Holmes says that we are not only broadcasting stations, but we are receiving sets. We are receiving sets. We are receivers also. We broadcast out and we receive, and everything goes in circles. So what we send out, we get back. What we send out, we get back. And we have to be mindful of the fact that what we are broadcasting, or mindful of the fact of what we are broadcasting, because that's what we're going to get back. That's what we're going to experience more and more of. And with so many things happening, you know, we know in religious science, we talk a lot about race consciousness, the consciousness of the race. All of that is a matter of consciousness. If our consciousness is not higher than the race consciousness, if our consciousness is attuned to the race consciousness, then we live in race conscious beliefs. And by race consciousness, I mean the consciousness of the human race, the consciousness of mankind. And so for us to be above that, for us to be higher than that, then we have to be mindful of what's happening with our minds. We have to be the real gatekeepers. We have to be the real gatekeepers. Ernest Holmes also was saying that if we are having thoughts and sending out thoughts of animosity and resentment, then anyone out there, anyone out there being outside ourselves who is operating at a level of animosity and resentment will pick that up, and they'll respond to that, and they will act the same way. They'll feel the same thing because that vibration goes out that way. And then they tune into that, and then that's what happens. They broadcast out themselves animosity and resentment. And he says that on the other hand, that if we are surrounded by people who have the consciousness and the thoughts of animosity and resentment, and we don't have that, then we are subjected to it. We don't become a part of it. We aren't tuned into it. So we have to tune into, as receiving says, we have to be tuned in order to receive that which is floating around, because there are all kinds of thoughts that are always floating, always floating, always available, always, things are always happening, things are always moving. And we have to make sure that we're on a particular wavelength, that we're not subject to it. We're on a particular wavelength, that we are not tuned into it. And that's what we have to do as gatekeepers. The gatekeepers of our own consciousness, the gatekeepers of our own thoughts, the gatekeepers of our own minds. That's what the gate is all about. It's about, what are we going to allow our gates to be open to? What will our open gate look like? What will we decide that we are going to allow ourselves to be free, or allow to come freely into our minds, freely into our experience, by what our but whether or not our gate is going to be open, and whether or not we're going to be receiving because of what we are broadcasting, receiving because of what we are broadcasting, because everything goes in circles. As I said, what goes around comes around. What goes around comes around. What goes around comes around. That's kind of like the law of cause and effect also. It is kind of like, it really is like the law of cause and effect. It goes out and it comes back. It goes out and it comes back. It goes out and it comes back. That's how life works, in circles. And so I invite you to really move into that awareness of the fact that you are a broadcasting station. You are a broadcasting station. What do you want to be broadcasting? And making sure that what you are broadcasting is what you want to experience, because it's going to come back to you. So let's just take a breath together for a moment as we just look at, how do we do this? Well, the first thing we do is to really look at the wavelength that we're sending out, what the wavelength that we're operating on, the wavelength that we're broadcasting on. What is that wavelength? Is that wavelength one of smallness? Is that small thinking? Is that wavelength one of openness? Is that wavelength one of a closed mind, a closed heart? Is that wavelength one of love? What is the wavelength that you're broadcasting on? What is that wavelength? And I think you have to be mindful and aware of that all the time. Mindful and aware. What is the wavelength? You have to pay attention, because the heart and the mind are connected. If your heart is closed to someone or something, then it's not possible to be fully open and fully free to being love, and to allowing love to be that wavelength. Because if your heart is closed to someone, a heart is close to something, then love cannot have free flow in your lives. And so when love doesn't have free flow, we can't be totally on that wavelength of love. Same way with peace, same way with light. If we are close to peace, if we are close to harmony, if we're close to balance, if we're close to any of those God qualities, then we cannot be on that wavelength. And therefore we cannot receive those things in our lives, because we can't send out those things in our lives. So be mindful of the wavelength that you're operating on. Be mindful of whether or not your heart is open to love. Be mindful of whether or not your heart is open to fellow humans on this path, on this journey with us. Be mindful of what things your heart is open to. Be mindful of those things that your thoughts are open to. Be mindful of the things that you're thinking. Be mindful of everything that's going on with us, because that's what creates our consciousness, and that's what creates our vibration, and that's what creates the life that we live. That's what creates the life that we live, the consciousness. We cannot experience things that we do not hold in consciousness, that we do not have the consciousness to experience. And so when we look around at our experiences, and if we don't like the experiences we're having, then we have to up-level our consciousness. And we up-level our consciousness by changing our thoughts. Change your thinking, change your life. We up-level our consciousness by changing our thoughts, by changing our awareness, by changing the way that we move in the world. And the way that we are creating in the world happens by the way that we are thinking, because our thoughts penetrate everything. Our thoughts penetrate everything. Our thoughts create our lives. And so it is really important to keep that gate, be the gatekeeper, keep that gate open to the experiences that you want to have in your life. Keep that gate open to the experiences that you want to have in your life. And once you start to look at changing your wavelength, what is your wavelength going to be? The wavelength upon which you're going to operate, then start to think about really not saying or thinking anything that you don't want to have come back to you. Making sure that the words that you speak and the thoughts that you think are the ones that you'd like to experience. The words that you speak have to be the ones that you want to experience. Being mindful of what we say, being mindful of how we say them, being mindful of the place from which our words come, being mindful of the place from which our thoughts come. Because when we have open hearts, when we have an intention to be love, when we have an intention to walk in love, when we have an intention to walk in the love of God, then we have that vibration of love. And then the words that come from our mouths become words of love. I'm reminded of one of my favorite quotes from Hafiz, the Sufi master, is that the word you speak becomes the house you live in. You've heard me say that many times. The word you speak becomes the house you live in. The word you speak becomes the house you live in. Think about that. Our words are so powerful. Our words are so powerful that they become the house that we live in. And so being mindful of speaking the words that you want to experience. Speaking the words that you want to experience, that's what is really, really important for us to keep in mind. The 3 Sufi gates for speech are very important for us to keep in mind also for the words that we speak. The first gate is are the words that I'm about to speak, are they true? That's the first question. When you get to the Sufi gates of speech, are the words true? Are their words true? Is what I'm about to say true? Is what I'm saying true? Is this the truth? And then if it's true, is it necessary to be said? Is it necessary? Is it necessary to be said? It may be true, but is it necessary? Is it beneficial? Is it helpful? Is it uplifting? Is it something that's gonna benefit others? And when I'm talking about the words that we speak, I'm talking not only about the words that we speak to others, I'm talking about the words that we speak to ourselves. The words that we speak to ourselves, because our self-talk can be just as harmful, just as damaging, or more so than the words that we speak to others. And we have to keep in mind, it's so important with the words that we speak, because words have such lasting impact. Words have such lasting impact on other people. Words have such lasting impact on ourselves. Think about things that you may have experienced as a child that someone said to you, or at some point in your life that you still remember today as though it just happened, as though they just said it, or something that someone said that was very painful to you. Think about how the impact that had on you. And when you think about that, then we can think about how important it is for us to be mindful of the words that we speak, the words that we say to others, the impact that our words may have on others. And so making sure that the words that we speak are necessary, making sure that they have some contribution, they're making a contribution to something. And then the third thing is making sure that our words are kind. Are they kind? Are they kind? Are they uplifting? Are they thoughtful? Are they thoughtful? Are they mindful of the other person? So that we with our words, the 3 gates are they true? Are the words true? Are they true? Are they necessary? Is it necessary that I say this? because everything that comes up, it isn't necessary for us to say. It isn't necessary for us to say everything. And then other words, kind. Are they kind? Are they uplifting? Are they beneficial to other people? Are they beneficial to me? Are they words of love? Are they coming from a place of love? All of these are things that we have to be mindful of all the time when we're going to keep that gate open, because when we keep the gate open, then we have an opening for the free flow of spirit in our lives. We have an opening for the free flow of God in our lives. We have the opening for no limitations. We have the opening for that freedom that little dog had running across that lawn. We have the opening. We have the opening to allow God to be God in our lives, as our lives. And so let's just take a breath together for a moment, just as we think about the words that we speak, the thoughts that we think, and whether or not these are the broadcast messages that we want to send out and receive back. And then the third thing that I want you to do is to really consider living in that open gate consciousness. Live in that open gate consciousness. Live in that consciousness of freedom, that consciousness of no holds barred, that consciousness of really being able to be all that you were created to be, to live the life that you were created to live. When we're in that open gate consciousness, then we're open to spirit. We're open to living our at oneness, our at one-ment with God. We're open to experiencing the allness and the fullness of God. We're open to being that place and space through which God operates always. We are open and available to receive the gifts of the Spirit. And the gifts come in so many different ways. The blessings come in so many different ways. Little ways, big ways. Doesn't matter, because God doesn't know little or big. God just is being itself. God is just expressing itself and wants to express itself in and through and as each one of us. And so as we are open more and more to the possibility of allowing God to express through us, as we are moving more and more into that open gate consciousness, wow, all kinds of things happen, all kinds of surprises happen. This past week on yesterday, I've been getting some calls on my cell phone that were showing up as potential spam. And I've been getting a lot of them for the last couple of weeks. And I've been trying to figure out, I've always tried to figure out how the phone company knows what's spam or not, but that's another Oprah show. But at any rate, I just decided I always ignore them. When the potential spam comes in, I just ignore them, or I hit the little red button, which means shut the call off. But for some reason, yesterday I answered the call, and there was a young man on the phone who was telling me that he was from this bank, and he needed some information from me in order to complete some paperwork that was being done. Well, I immediately became suspicious, because there are so many scams and so many scam calls. So why would the bank be calling me wanting this information? So I told him a few things about that, and he insisted that he was not a scammer, that he really did need this information from me. And I said, well, what information do you need? And he said, I need you to verify the street address. And I said, well, why would I give you that information? I'm not going to give you that information. If you are from the bank, then you already have that information. And he said, well, I have to have you verify it for me. I need you to verify the street address, and I need you to verify the business phone number. I said, well, you just called me, so you have the phone number. He said, yes, but I just need you to verify. And I said, no, well, I'm not going to verify it, because that might be a scam. He said, well, I tell you what, you can call back at this number, and then you can give the information when you call back. And I said, why would I call back at a number that you give me? Because it's going to be the same thing. I took him round and round and round and round and round about this. And so then I said, well, just give me the number and I will write it down. So I wrote it down. He said, you can also give them my name, and they will verify that I work for them. This company will verify that I work for them. And then you can give them the information. And I said, well, why would I call a place that you give me the number for, and ask for your name, of course they're going to say they know you. So he said, ma'am, I really don't mean to be rude, but I really do need this information so that we can complete this process. So if you would just give me the street address. And I said, nope, I'm not going to give you that. He said, okay, well, maybe we'll try something else. Give me your date of birth. I said, you have got to be kidding. That's even more personal. I'm not going to give you my date of birth. And so he said, okay. And he gave me another phone number. He said, call this number and give that information and so that we can get this completed, because you have 48 business hours to get this taken care of. And if you don't, then we can't complete the process that we've been going through. So we went round and round, and I told him I wasn't going to give it to him. So I said, well, if I go on the website, can I find the phone number you're giving me? He said, yes, I think so. So he gave me, I went on the website, I couldn't find the phone number. He was on the phone all that time. And I said to him, I can't find the phone number. He said, well, try this number. So bottom line is he ended up giving me 4 different phone numbers that I didn't call, I couldn't find. And it finally occurred to me that he was really just asking for the street address and that I could probably give him that. So I gave him the numbers and he said, yes. Now, what street is it on? I said, well, if you know the numbers, then you should know the street. He said, but you have to verify it. So we went round and round for a bit about that. And then finally, he said to me, you know, you uploaded your driver's license here over in the last week, and your driver's license expired. So we can't use your driver's license as a valid ID because you have an expired license. And so then it occurred to me, I did upload my driver's license, if he had my driver's license, then maybe he was really from the bank and maybe it wasn't a scam. And so I will end this dreadfully long story by just saying, I hope somebody gave him a raise. I hope that call was recorded and that somebody gave him a raise after we finished. Because the gift in that I'm trying to get to is that I didn't know that my driver's license had expired. It never occurred I don't look at my driver's license, so I didn't know that it expired. So the real blessing in that for me was that I got a chance to find out that my driver's license expired and have him tell me on the phone rather than have a police officer tell me if they happen to stop me and I have an expired license. So that was a blessing in that. And I just really had to take a deep breath. And as I said, I hope somebody, really was listening and that they give him a raise because he really deserves one, because we were on the phone for a long time. But I recognize that the gift in that, the gift in just being open to finally just opening up and just allowing spirit to work in that. The message was trying to get to me, that spirit was trying to get the message to me that your driver's license expired. You need to get that taken care of right away. So as a result of that, I was able to go on to the DMV website and to set up an appointment to get new driver's license and all that stuff. But I would not have known that had I not been open to just opening up, opening the gate, opening my mind, and just allowing the free flow of spirit. And the point that I'm making is that the free flow of spirit comes through in so many ways, so many little ways, big ways. And that may seem like a little thing, and it's a little thing with me sitting here in my home, but it can be a big thing if you're sitting in your car and your driver's license is expired and you get a ticket or whatever the case may be. But so many little ways that we are blessed by the free flow of spirit when we are in that open gate consciousness. When we're in that open gate consciousness, when we are opening our minds and opening our hearts. And yes, if someone calls you with a potential spam call, or if someone calls you and requests personal information from you, of course, be mindful, of course, be cautious, of course, do the due diligence that we need to do to make sure that information that we're giving out is not information that could be harmful or could be used in some way that is untoward for any of us. But probably if they're asking for your street address or just a street number and they already have it, they just want you to verify it. That may be okay. Asking for the phone number that they just called you on, just asking you to verify that that's your number. Could be clue that it's probably okay to give that information out. However, the point that I'm making is the gift that is always available when the free flow of spirit comes through, the gift that is always available when we can just open our hearts and open our minds and just be available to the blessings, be available to the blessings that come. So I invite you to live in the open gate consciousness. Live in the open gate consciousness. Open your minds, open your hearts, open your entire being. Open your entire being. Open your entire being to pure spirit. Open your entire beingness to pure spirit. Allow yourself to be free. Open your entire being to freedom. And that's what happens when we are in that place of the open gate, when we're in that place of the open mind, when we're in that place of allowing our thoughts to be stayed on that which is right and that which is true, that which is whole, that which is perfect, that which is complete. And we know that that is God, that within which we live and move and have our being. And so live in the open gate consciousness. Live in the open gate consciousness. Be that place of love. Be that place of peace. Be that place of harmony. Be that place of God. Be that place of God. So let's just take a breath together as we just turn within in this moment. Just breathing in and breathing out and knowing absolutely that God is all there is. The only power, the only presence, the only mind, the only life, the only breath, the only activity is God. The only is God. This only that is God is my very life. It is the life of each of us here this day. It is that within which we live and we move and we have our being. It is that from which we can never be separate. And so just knowing this truth, I speak the word for each of us this day. I speak a word of wholeness. I speak a word of healing. I speak a word of the allness and the fullness of God just flowing freely in and through and as each one of us, as our very lives. And as it does, I know that healing happens on every level of our being, whether it's in our body temples, whether it's in our bodies of affairs, however it is, wherever it is. Healing is always happening because God is always present in our midst. And so this word goes out to anyone needing a prayer this day. This word goes out for anyone needing a prayer this day. Whether it's a prayer for healing in the body temple, knowing that every organ, cell, tissue function of every body is radiating that healing presence of God. And knowing that the bodies of affairs are filled with right action and order and divine order and guidance and direction. That anywhere that there appears to be lack, that lack is dissolved and is replaced by the abundance and the prosperity that already is, the allness and the fullness of God. I know that there is comfort for anyone who has suffered the loss of a loved one, whether it's from COVID or any other means, forever. We just know that the healing presence, the comforting presence, the loving presence of God is right where each person is. And for those who have lost loved ones, those who have moved on to their greater yet to be, I know that the allness and the fullness of God is everywhere present. The love of God is everywhere present. Everywhere present. And so I pause momentarily so that you may speak the names of anyone you'd like held in prayer this day. You may speak their names silently or loud, and you may speak them now. And so for all those whose names are spoken here this day, I know that God is right where each of them is, blessing and keeping them. And that all indeed is well. All indeed is well. This prayer goes out to everyone needing a prayer this day. This prayer goes out to the people in Texas who have been experiencing severe weather issues, severe apparent losses, severe issues regarding health and safety and well-being. I know that the presence of God is in the midst of everything that's happening. That there's food, there's water, there's enough of everything that is necessary for their care. everything that is necessary for their well-being. I know this same truth for all of us. I know this same truth for everyone, everywhere, that everything necessary is provided for the allness and the fullness of God is in the midst of everything that's going on. And so I just say, thank you, Father, Mother God, for the blessings of our lives. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for the healing of this planet. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for the healing with our government and our government officials and our politicians. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for the healing of our nation, for the coming together in unity, in love, in peace, in harmony, in oneness. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for just being God this day. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for everything. And I simply allow it to be. And so it is.